Hello, my neighbor. Let's talk about who created the creatures. Repeat, who created the creatures? We're going to have some fun today. We got another hot take. Check out this title. What is a creature? Okay, so we're going to lay this one out in simplicity because this one is fun because I love talking about creatures, and I know sometimes the word creature hurts people and it makes them just feel in a specific way because like I call men and I call women creatures. I was like, oh, you're a creature because most people, all people are creatures of my Father. Okay. They may not know this, but it is what it is. And this is why I like showing people, what the words mean. Okay. But before I go, I want to give a shout out to the central bank system for showing us how money is created. I really appreciate the banking system because this is a really cool creature that the people created. Okay. So this is what I mean. The people created a banking system, and then within this banking system, they're able to create money, right? Or what they would call currency, right? So banks are able to create currency that allows commerce to flow between people, okay? So the people can get their goods and services on, the people can trade because of bank systems. And that is a creature that the people created, and I love it. And then you can also see how the creature can affect money movement too, because depending on the interest rate, if it's either up or down, depends on how much money is moving through the economy. And remember, economy means house, okay? And this whole world is my Father's house, all right? Remember this bit. Thank you, Central Bank. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for showing us how the banking system works. And thank you for showing us how money is created. Thanks for this jump off bit. Now, let's go ahead and hop on this hot take and let's have some fun. What is a creature? Okay, my neighbors. So before we go, we have to lay down some terms and some conditions, and you and I, we have to agree upon them so we can be on the same page. So when we see this word, we're like, yeah, that's what it means. And when we see this other word, we're going to be like, yeah, that's what that one means too. Okay. All right. So check out this word and focus on the highlight. Creature. Creature is that which is created. That's what it is. Creature. Every being besides the creator. Okay? That's what it is right there. So I am a creature of my Father because my Father is God, because my Father is the creator of everything. Okay? So you can't get around the mathematics on that bit right there because this is why I always say creator creates creation. So every creature has a creator. You just need to figure out where you are on that hierarchy. Okay, my neighbor? All right, so drop down and check out bless. Okay, bless is to make happy. That's what bless is. And we love Father blessing us. Bless is to make successful. We love it, right? We love this bit right here because, bless, we also track down bless too, etymology. This is just a fun off the top of the head. Bless also means blood. Okay. So I was washed in the blood of Christ, right? And that's how I was able to get back to my Father because my Father is God. So that's how I got back into the family through the blessings or through the blood of Jesus Christ. Okay. It's right there. So I'm happy now. I'm successful now because of Jesus. And I love it because I know who my King is. Okay. And I know this sometimes throws a lot of people off because they're like, oh my God, why do you always have to talk about Jesus? Right? Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It's like, yo, I love talking about Jesus because that's who I work for. That's who I serve. This is how I am. This is how I am. I always like hyping up the people that I work for, right? Like I used to do this back in the day when I used to work in the hospital, because I used to work in the hospital and I taught people how to do surgical procedures. I would show people how to do work with their hands, right? And, I would hype up the hospital so much. I would hype up the surgical center or the surgical services so much because I thought it was the coolest and the best place to work in, right? And we were ranked nationally, as one of the dopest surgical fellowships ever, right? And I loved it. This is where my pride was kicking in, right? So I loved it because we were putting out high level surgeons, right? The surgeons that we were putting out were super high level because the physicians that I was working with, they were also high level too, so they created a lot of the procedures or at least the techniques and the procedures that they were teaching the fellows. And then I was able to learn from everyone and then I was teaching, right? So it was a really cool thing. and it was a blessing, right? But I was always hyping up surgical services, and I was always trying to get people to come work for us, right? I was like, yo, you should stay here. Like, I would tell people after we would train them, like especially the technicians, right? I would train them and I would show them how to get down in the operating room. And then I would say, you should stay, you should stay because this place is so cool because you have so many opportunities. Now, a lot of people didn't like that because, they were like, well, I can go make more money at this other place, right? And then I was like, well, yeah, that's fair, that's fine, but you're not going to have as much freedom, as you have here. You're not going to be able to do all these cool things, because you're going to be working with another entity, right? And that was really fun for me. And this is why I always hype up Jesus, because it's the same thing, because Jesus is the best, in my opinion, as written, because I know who Jesus is. And, you're never going to move me from that position. So this is why I'm always going to be talking about my Lord, my Savior, my King, my everything. This is who I work for, right? So just like you might hype up your employer, right? So most people are hyping up their employer when they go to their little meetings and the CEO gets up there and he does his little hype man bit. That's how I am, but I'm like that for Jesus, because Jesus hypes me up, right? So I'm always going to show you who my creator is, and I'm always going to show you who I work for, because creator creates creation. Jesus created me, and I'm in the image of Jesus. Okay. So don't get butthurt and don't get thrown off, my neighbor, because you may follow something else. You may believe in something else, and that's cool. That doesn't mean you and I can't sit down and have a conversation and talk. That doesn't mean that you and I can't share stories, because I learn from you. I learn from you, and I learn from the words that you say, and then I look for ways to serve you. Okay, my neighbor? All right, so we're done with that bit. I just had to set that one off because, I'm seeing online that there's a lot of people, who follow a lot of different words, and they follow a lot of different so-called influencers out there. And then these influencers, they have a specific way of doing things. And I mean, that's fine, that's fair. You get to follow whoever it is that you get to follow. I'm a Christian, so I follow Christ, and I'm always going to point to my King, so I don't have to hype it up like some of the other people out there who do on the social media. And then they say, Jesus is King. I already know it. It's already written in the Holy Bible, an adversary knows it, so I just have to represent because I'm an ambassador of Christ. So I'm what you would call a representative, right? So I represent Christ in this realm. So I'm representing the King, right? And I know I have to act on my P's and Q's when I'm dealing with my neighbors, okay? All right, let me get back on my point right now, because I can keep going on and on and on. Enough about me. Let's get back to the lesson. In the beginning, Creator creates creation. Okay, remember this bit right here. Okay, that's a maxim. That's a building block right there for me, is that I always know how everything gets down because I'm going to see who the creator is, and I'm going to see what the creator created, right? So I'll look at the creation, I'll look at the creator, and then I'll understand everything that I need to know, right? Because of the words that come out of people's mouth. Okay, now check out this bit right here. This is something that the people created. The people have the right to instruct their representatives, petition government for redress of grievances, and assemble freely to consult for the common good. You see that right there? So those are creatures of the people. So look at this right here, where it says the people have the right to instruct. Instruct means form, right? So I was formed by my father. My father is God, okay? Jesus molded me. All right, check this out. They're representatives. So a representative is a creature of the people. Okay, that's what it is. A representative is a creature of the creator. All right, let's keep it going. Petition government. So government right there is also a creature of the people. Okay, or a creature of the creator. So remember that bit right there. Okay, so reps are creatures and governments are creatures. Okay, we understand this because creator creates creation. All right, so let's reread that one more time. It says the people have the right to instruct their representatives, petition government for redress of grievances, and assemble freely to consult for the common good. So I can go and I can talk to my neighbors and we can come together. That's what assemble means. We can come together and we can talk about some wonderful things. So whatever it is that we see that we wish to talk about, we can talk about. Like, we can talk about the banking system, and then I can show my neighbors how the banking system is created, and I can show my neighbors how money is created, and then I can show them all sorts of wonderful things, and then we can look, and then we can make plans together in the private, and we can do a whole lot of good. Okay, so like I used to do this bit back in the day when I used to show people how Bitcoin works, right? So I was one of those early adopters of Bitcoin, before people even knew what the Bitcoin was. And I was reading the white paper of, the Satoshi, whatever his name is. So I was reading the white paper. I was reading about the problem that people have with trust, right? And that's why currency, or how currency was created. And then I learned about public ledgers and private ledgers, and I learned all sorts of wonderful things. But I learned that money is just trust, right? So people only trust money because they all agree to use the same currency, so the same flow. So all of us agree to use the US dollar, the USD, or the Federal Reserve note, okay? And even on that note, it says, in God we trust. So we're always throwing love to God, even in the money that we use. So a lot of secular people don't understand this, but creator creates creation. So God created the people, and then the people created money. Okay, remember this, okay, because the money is the people. I'm the money. All right, I'm the currency. I get things flowing, and I do this through my Father. All right, other people do it through other entities. They do it through other businesses like banks, or just other entities. And once you understand the terms and the conditions, and that creator creates creation, you're gonna bring down your stress levels a whole lot. Okay, my neighbor, you're gonna stop worrying about money, and then you're gonna understand that money's just a tool. All right, so drop down, and we're gonna show you my job description. So this is my job description because I have to give full disclosure, because I've been commissioned to get out here and teach all nations. All nations are all people. All people is one man is a people and one woman is a people. You put them together and they're called the United States. Okay? So I'm just going to show you some words from my Father's word, my Constitution. Check this out. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind. And God saw that it was good. And every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Okay, you see that bit right there? So right there, my Father created creatures. And remember, the creator creates everything. So he's showing you how he created everything. He created everything that's in the water, and he creates everything that flies in the sky, the fowls, right? So right there, you're seeing terms and the conditions that my Father had hooked up, and he set it up for the people. And then he also set it up for the creatures too. And he says this right here, and God blessed them. So my Father blessed the creatures. He made them happy, right? He made them happy, and he set them up for success, and we love it, right? And it gives us a pattern and practice right here where Father blesses things, so the creator blesses things, right? And then he says, be fruitful. That's a command. And multiply. That's a command. And fill the waters in the seas. That's their job description. And let fowl multiply in the air. That's their job description. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. So he's giving you a parameter right there of what he did on day 5. And we love it, right? We love it because we get to see how creator creates creation by reading and understanding how my Father created the whole creation, right? And we love it because we are a creature of the creation, and I have a duty and I have an obligation to oversee it and administer my Father's creation because this is what I was commissioned to do. I'm my Father's trustee, okay? All right, so we're done with that bit. I just wanted to show you what my Father created on the 5th day, and I wanted to show you how he created everything in the waters, right? And everything that's on the earth, all the things that are flying around, okay? And then let's keep walking it back up. And then I wanted to show you that bit, from in the beginning, creator creates creation. But I wanted to show you a provision from one of our constitutions where it says the people create things too. So the people have a right to instruct their creatures. So government is a creature of the people, and we have have a duty and we have an obligation to oversee them, to administer them, and to instruct them. So that's every legislative entity, that's every executive entity, and that's every judicial entity, okay? And everything else that was created underneath the jurisdiction of the Constitution, those are creatures of we the people. Remember this bit and you're going to be cool. And then I wanted to show you what bless is, and I wanted to show you what creature is, because if you understand those terms and those conditions, and if you never move from that position, you're going to bring down your stress levels a whole lot, because things are going to start to get super easy for you, because you're going to understand what creatures you create, right? And then you're going to understand who created you. Okay, my neighbor? All right, so that is what is a creature. So I'm done with that bit. Let's hop on our next slide. Conclusion. This is our closeout game. Okay, check this out. Trust God. So I'm going to say this bit until Father taps me out. And then I love doing the mic drop on this bit because, you know, I want people to trust God, and I want people to put their trust in God, and I want people to put their property in God's trust. And once you understand how to do this, you're going to be able to dress and keep your property, you know, because your body, your one body that you have, even if you don't know it, is my Father's property. You know, so my Father created this body. He created men and he created women. Okay, so you have a duty and you have an obligation to administer your body as written. And you know, a lot of people like to outsource this duty to other entities, and I mean, that's fine, that's cool, because those are creatures of we the people. Okay, you know, so every tool is a creature of we the people. We create tools with our mind and with our hand, and then we assemble them, and then we say, now go do some work. So like I was saying, let's walk it back up now. I wanted to give the shout out to the central bank system for showing us how money is created. So the central bank system is a tool that the people created. A central bank system is a creature that the people created. Any bank system is a creature of the creator. The people created bank systems, okay? And money is also a tool of the people, and we need to learn how to use it. Okay, so once you understand how to use these tools with your hands and with your mind, you're going to be able to bring down your stress levels a whole lot. Okay, my neighbor? And then I wanted to give you that bit on what is a creature, because everybody should know what a creature is. Okay, because we are creatures of the creator. All right, you know, and then I wanted to talk about who created the creatures. All right, so there's always going to be a who and there's always going to be a what. This is our duty and this is our obligation to show you who and to show you what. And we love it because creator creates creation. All right, my neighbor? All right, so we're done. Thank you. I'll see you in the future if it's my Father's will. And remember, nobody's having more fun than us. Bye.